Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. My name is AJ. I'm here to talk about 6 upcoming disasters that Liz Truss could cause Britain, which could cause Britain to collapse and send it back into the dark ages again. So thank you all for joining my channel, guys. I really appreciate all of the support. I've hit 24,000 subscribers. I really need more of your help. Really appreciate you watch this video to the end. Like, share, subscribe, comment. And if I can ask you guys for a favor, I would really appreciate it if you can join my locals, or if you can join my Patreon to support me as a channel. Things like that keep me alive. Lately the support for Patreon and locals has been going down, and it's not enough for me to carry on supporting this channel and carry on making these videos. So your support makes all the difference, because most of my videos on YouTube get demonetized. As you know, I speak the truth, and channels like myself are suppressed quite heavily. So your support makes all the difference, guys. So if I can ask you to do that, that would be really great. Now that that's out the way, let's get on with the show. The first disaster waiting to happen is the cost of living disaster, and I'm going to talk about Liz Truss's ridiculous freeze on energy prices and what that would cause. So this package basically means 130 billion will be helping the British public to freeze household bills until April 2024, and also it will help 67 billion over 12 months to help businesses as well. So this scale is very close to the 310 billion handed out during the pandemic, when it came to furlough schemes and wasting how 60-70 billion on this ridiculous track and trace thing that didn't even work, and plus all these other handouts that they've given, and cost of businesses as well. So it's very close to the amount they've paid during the pandemic. People do not understand how much of a disaster this would cause. So who's going to have to pay for all of this? The taxpayers, of course. And they are borrowing this money. They are not paying for this. The government is not helping the taxpayers pay for this. They are borrowing all of this money, and eventually somebody will have to pay it back. Somebody will have to pay it back, whether it's increased taxes, or they'll find another way to squeeze the British public, or take out some public services, take out more money from the NHS, for example. They'll find some way to pay this back, and the British people will have to pay for it back eventually. The second thing you got to understand, and not a lot of people are actually thinking about this, but the gas prices are increasing day by day. I mean, you just have to look at the gas prices, how they are this week. Because Russia has shut down Nord Stream 1 to Germany, the gas prices have almost gone up by a third just this week alone. And the projections are that the gas prices and electricity prices are going to go up 400% compared to what they were last year in Britain. 400%. So this money that they think they can help the British public with, 130 billion to help the British public freeze their household bills, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, because they are not taking into account how much the gas prices are going to be increasing this year alone. Forget about next year. So it really doesn't matter. But by next year, they're going to say something like, oh, okay, this money that we put aside to help the British public has run out. We just don't have the money anymore, because the 200 billion we earmarked to help freeze these household bills, we don't have that money anymore, because we've spent it all because of the high gas prices. And you know what she's going to be like? She's going to blame Putin for it all. Blame Putin, of course. So this money that they have earmarked to borrow is going to run out sometime next year. And they are saying that this is going to go until April 24. No way this is going to go until April 24. This will last probably until April 2023, and then they'll say, oh, okay, we need to either borrow more money, or we need to do something, raise taxes or whatever, because we can't afford it. So the intelligent thing they could have done is, they could have taken this money out of these British gas companies. Shell, BP, and all of these other, gas companies have claiming profits of 170 billion, and all of that money is going to go to their shareholders and other people. They're not going to go to the British public. It's going to go into their own pockets. She was talking about, Boris was talking about windfall taxes and things like that. She said no to windfall taxes. She said, no, we're not going to tax these corporations. She loves corporations making profits, apparently. This is what Tories are about. They love making money for these corporations, and they love getting that money into their pockets eventually. Because all of these corporations, they are basically paying for the Tories. They fund the Tories as well. So they would rather hit the British public where it hurts, when it comes to the middle class, etc. So all of this talk about 200 billion energy plan is just not going to work, guys. 100% it's not going to work. And this is my I wouldn't even say prediction, because if you look through all of my videos, when I first started YouTube, if you go through all of my videos, if you actually had the time to go through every single video of mine, you will see that everything I have said has pretty much come true. I've been saying Liz Truss is going to be the leader since March. Since March I've been saying it. And there's many other predictions I made about Ukraine and many other things. They've all come true, mate. They've all come true. So when I say this is not going to work, and by next year they're going to say, oh, okay, we've run out of money now. We need to do some other things. We need to either borrow more money, or we need to get the British public to pay more taxes. But I'll tell you what they're really going to do, and this is what they did during the pandemic. They're just going to print money. They're going to print money like there's no tomorrow. And guess what that's going to do? That's going to, of course, increase the inflation, and it's going to put Britain in a worse state than it is. Britain's inflation is the highest in Europe, and it's one of the highest in terms of the developed economies, and it's one of the highest, higher than America, and one of the highest in the world. Well, I'm not talking about places like Syria and Turkey and Iran and Venezuela, obviously. Those are different situations because of sanctions and stuff. But, in terms of the developed economies, Britain is at the highest in terms of inflation. I think we're quite close to reaching 18% or 20% officially. Unofficially, I think it's close to 50%. Because if you go to the supermarkets, everything that has everything that was a certain price last year has almost doubled. Ordinary things like butter, bread, milk, everything's gone up by 50% or 100% or doubled in price. So don't tell me it's 20%, guys. You just have to go to the supermarket and see how the real prices are. You can see the prices of food, prices of everyday things have gone up by 50% or 100%. Just work it out. It's not 20%. It's very much close to 50%. But obviously they're not going to say that. They're going to say officially 18% or something like that. However, if you ask a British citizen how much they are worse off compared to last year, they will say at least 2 or 3 times worse, because every single citizen in UK has to pay, gas prices, electricity prices, which have more than doubled. They've gone up by 57% or 80% in April. They're going to go up again in October by another 80%. People's rents have gone up by about 50%. Food prices, everything's gone up. So don't tell me it's 18%. When ordinary citizen in UK, they are more than double, if not triple, worse off than they were last year. They're paying more than double when it comes to electricity prices. They're paying more than double when it comes to petrol prices and other goods and food items. So don't tell me it's 18%. Only idiots would believe that. Number 2, recession. So I love how all of these articles are saying UK is on the brink of recession as Truss takes over. Britain is not in the brink of recession. Britain is in recession. Is. You know, previously they had in Wiki it had a definition of recession where if a country has 2 quarters of negative growth, then officially that country is in recession. Britain has had 2 quarters of negative growth this year. 2. And recently, just a couple of days ago, India has overtaken UK to become the 5th largest world economy. And I love this Fox News article. It says, this is how the law of karma works, because India overtakes its former colonial ruler. I love how Fox News is painting the British as the bad guys, as the former colonial ruler. Look what the USA has done over the years, and look what the USA is doing. Absolute hypocrites. Seriously, double standards there. So this useless piece of garbage, the boss of Bank of England, is obviously trying to kiss Liz Truss's backside. He says this: Liz Truss's energy bills could curb inflation, says Bank of England. Of course he's not going to curb inflation. What kind of planet is this guy from? The reason England is having so much inflation, and also why the rest of the world is having so much inflation, is not because of what he thinks it is. It's number one, Britain has been printing shitload of money, which he was in charge of. This guy's been printing so much money is in circulation, and this is one of the reasons there's so much inflation in England and plus the rest of the world. Another reason for inflation is the supply chain issues. You know, everything is expensive because of the high oil prices, high gas prices around the world. So what's he going to do? Well, how is Liz's energy bills freeze going to stop that from happening? Is he going to stop gas prices going higher around the world? Is he going to stop oil prices from going higher? No. This guy's an idiot. Because of all of these high oil and gas prices, obviously to transport them around the world, you need to pay more because the transport costs have gone up. You know, everything has gone up because of these high oil and gas prices. There's supply chain issues. There's so many issues. High cost of dollar. You know, there's so many reasons there's inflation around the world. And this idiot, I would call him an idiot because he is an idiot, thinks that Truss's energy bills could curb inflation. Can you believe this shit? Oh my god, what a fool, what a fool. It gets worse, guys. Then you have this fool contradicting himself. He says, Truss's energy bills unlikely to stop rate rise. So can you see what he's trying to do here? He's going to increase the rate rise, which means people will have to pay more for their mortgages, because most people have mortgages around UK, so you're going to have to pay more for your mortgages. A lot of people in UK are struggling, so a lot of people have taken loans to make ends meet. So a lot of people will have to pay more for their loans. A lot of businesses will have to pay more for business loans they've taken out. Liz Truss, her 200 billion more borrowing that she's going to do, she's going to have to pay more for interest for that. So you can see where this is heading, right? Which means this is increasing inflation because people are paying more. Look, I know what you're going to say. You know, in the past, one way of combating inflation is to increase rate rises. And I know in the history, banks have always raised interest rates to curb inflation, to stop inflation from rising. But this is not going to work this time, because you really have to understand where the inflation is coming from. You know, we are suffering from what's called a stagflation. A stagflation is when interest rates rise, recession hits, but the cost of living rises as well, and that's stagflation. It really doesn't matter if you increase inflation or not. Your cost of living, your inflation will still rise even though you are in recession, and that's what's called a stagflation. So you see, increasing these rate rises is not going to make any difference. The only thing they are succeeding in doing is making the lives of British people more difficult. Then you have these stupid, I would say stupid journalists, so-called experts of the economy, saying that the inflation could be slashed to just 2% under Truss's economic plan. And they go around drawing this stupid graph here showing how Liz Truss's plan could take the inflation to 2%. I mean, look at this graph here. It looks like someone's drawn it in a piece of paper. It's not even drawn with a computer. It looks like someone's handwritten this. I mean, it's absolutely laughable. If I did something like this in my job, if I handwritten this graph and I presented it to the executives, to my boss, to the CEOs, and I showed them this graph, they would laugh at my face and sack me on the spot. It's an absolute sick joke how they think that the inflation is going to go all the way to 2% by next year. I mean, any idiot would know that it's not true. Any idiot would know that. Because inflation is not just based on Liz Truss's freezing plan. Inflation is a global thing. You know, there's prices going up all over the world because of supply chain issues, because of the gas prices, because of the oil prices, because of the price of the dollar has gone up, because the price of the pound has gone down. The cost of making goods in Asia has gone up. You know, people's wages are increasing there. The cost of raw materials are increasing. It's becoming harder and harder to mine raw materials. Then you got to add all of these carbon costs to that as well. There's so many reasons inflation is going up in the world. So many. It requires a separate video just to talk about that. Anyway, let's move on. Number 3, public services disaster. So as you know, Britain's public services has been in decline for years now. I mean, I live in UK and I have seen how bad things are. You know, the NHS, for example, the waiting lists, which are ridiculous. Sometimes some people have to wait years and years for an appointment. I mean, I had to go to a funeral yesterday, and it was my uncle, and he died of cancer. He had an appointment for treatment for his cancer cancelled during COVID, and the waiting time for him to go back and get this cancer treated and, you know, go through all the chemo stuff, he had to wait 2 years to get an appointment to get this cancer under control. 2 years. And obviously it was too late by then, and his cancer had spread, and he finally passed away. So I had to go to the funeral yesterday. This shows the level of incompetence in the NHS. But it's not just the NHS. There's talks about, you know, ambulances where you have to wait 3-4 hours for an ambulance. If you call a police, sometimes police don't respond until like 24 hours later. You know, you have strikes by Royal Mail, you have strikes going on by lawyers, you have strikes with railway strikes, you have police thinking of going into strikes as well. You know, basically everybody has had enough in Britain. The public services is an absolute joke in Britain. It's an absolute joke, and something definitely needs to be done about it. Money needs to be spent on it, and then you see Liz Truss actually throwing away money, 200 billion, like it's nothing. I'm going to talk about other things she's going to be doing as well, wasting money throughout this course of this presentation as well. But if she doesn't do anything with these public services, they will collapse. And I can tell you that now, if the public services start collapsing, if the NHS starts collapsing, there will be riots. People are not going to be happy about it. Anyway, let's move on. Number 4, Ukraine disaster. So Liz Truss has not been learning the lessons of Boris's downfall. One of the main reasons Boris has been kicked out of office is not because of his policies in UK, it's because of his foreign policies, especially with Ukraine. Everybody knows that Boris used to skip all of these meetings in Britain. He used to not care about the local policies in Britain. He never used to care about the British people's livelihoods. He would always be on his first private jet trip to Ukraine, meeting his mate Zelensky, and they would hang out, they will have a laugh, they will have a joke at British taxpayers' expense. Boris has been a hack. He's pretty much hacked his way into becoming the Prime Minister, and he did not want to do any work for it. Britain just had a Brexit. For God's sakes, start making trade deals all over the world. The first thing Boris should have done, gone all over to every single country all over the world, start doing trade deals with countries everywhere. You're starting from scratch. You're starting from beginning. You want to be global Britain. You want to start from beginning, making new deals, making new relationships with countries, and that's what Boris should have done. Instead, he was in his office having parties while everyone else was in lockdown, flying off to Ukraine every chance he gets, forgetting about the policies in Britain, and start sending money to Ukraine. And that's what he did. And this was the cause of his downfall, unfortunately. A lot of people are not going to admit it, but this is what brought him down. And guess what? Liz Truss is doing everything the same. So what does Liz Truss do when she gets handed the PM? The first phone call she makes is to Zelensky. And look at this. Liz Truss makes Ukraine's Zelensky her first call to an international leader as Prime Minister in a break from tradition. The first phone call any Prime Minister in UK does is normally to the US President. And she becomes the first Prime Minister to call Zelensky first and puts the US President bottom of the queue. So you can see what a joke this woman is. She doesn't even think. She's now destroying the relationship, or what's left of the relationship, with the USA. I mean, they'll still be puppets. They will still be puppets of the United States. But now she's pissed off Biden. Biden's going to look at this. And I can tell you for a fact the Americans are not going to be happy. Definitely not. The fact that she's called Zelensky, it just shows where her priorities are. It means that she's going to carry on from Boris's policies. She's going to be very much anti-Russian. And she's probably going to double down with all of her policies. One of the main reasons she got this job is because of her anti-Russian, anti-Chinese rhetoric she was giving. She was saying the right things at the right time to the right people. And certain people noticed, and certain people, let's just say, pushed her into becoming the PM. And I wouldn't be surprised if those people had whispered to her ear and said, look, if you want us to push you to become the next PM, there's only one thing you got to do. You got to carry on supporting Ukraine. You got to carry on giving them money. You got to support the military-industrial complex. That's your only job. And I wouldn't be surprised. And the proof is in the pudding, guys. I mean, you can see her calling Zelensky shows you what her priorities are. Her priorities are not Britain. You know, Boris Johnson had fell in the same trap. He was working for the military-industrial complex, and this explains why he was in Ukraine more than he was in Britain. And Liz Truss is falling in the same trap. So one of the things that Liz Truss has said, that she's going to increase defence military spending in the UK, and currently it's at 2.2%, and she's going to increase it to 3% of national income, 3% of GDP she's going to increase it by. So I have a couple of questions. First of all, where the hell is she going to get another 157 billion from? Is she going to print it again? Is she going to borrow it? Because Britain doesn't have that kind of money. So where's she going to get it from? Again, Britain's going to be under a lot of debt because of this. And she's going to have to cut funding from public services just to pay this. So she's going to probably have to cut funding from the NHS, education, research and development, who knows? Or she will just borrow it and let the future generations pay it off. Whatever she's deciding, you know, she has basically decided what her priorities lie. Her priorities are with the military-industrial complex, supporting Ukraine, being anti-Russian, and this will continue. So this map shows an indication of how the world is spending money on its military compared to its GDP. China, for example, spends 1.3%, or maybe it's gone up recently, 1.4%, maybe 1.5% of its GDP on its military. And countries like Ukraine, for example, spends 4.1%, which is understandable. Russia spends 4.3%, which is also understandable because these two countries are in conflict with each other. So it makes sense them spending more on its military. America, in comparison, spends 3.4% of its GDP in its military, and you got countries such as Saudi Arabia spending up to 12% of its GDP on its military. But Saudi Arabia is also having a conflict in Yemen as well. So Britain is going to go from 2.3%, which takes it from the green. You can see it's light green at the moment, same color as China. And if it goes up to 3%, it's going to turn yellow or amber. And you can see Britain is going to become amber. And there's only a few countries around the world which are that color. You can see obviously Russia, Ukraine. There's countries in Middle East, Pakistan, United States, Colombia. So Britain is going to go up to that level. However, at what cost? You know, it's not like they got the money to spend on its military. At what cost? Seriously. Number 5, China. So Liz Truss has already said she's going to be much tougher on China than Boris Johnson ever was. And she has been extremely antagonistic, even threatening towards China. And this is not going to stop. It's going to continue. She's going to send a delegation to Taiwan as well. She has already confirmed this. Sometime this year, she will send a delegation to Taiwan, which is going to escalate things even more. She has said that she will put China as a similar status to Russia. And she has claimed many things. She has already kicked out a lot of Chinese investments that were in UK. She has kicked them out. She is refusing licenses for Chinese companies to invest money here in tech companies in UK. It's going to get worse. It's going to get much worse. However, If somebody actually sits down with her and asks her, why are you like this towards China? Why are you so antagonistic towards China? She's not going to be able to answer it, because China is not a threat to UK. I can understand China being an economic threat to the United States, because China is the only country who can match USA economically, and USA will lose its number one position in the world. So I can understand China being an economic competitor to the United States, but I don't understand why China is such a threat to the United Kingdom. There's only one reason, because United Kingdom is such a puppet of the United States. Whatever the United States wants us to do, we do. If they tell us to kick out Huawei, we'd do it easily without any fuss whatsoever. If the United States say, give us Julian Assange, Britain will be like, yes sir, whatever you say sir. You see, we are the biggest puppets in the world of the United States, and we just are. It's quite shameful. It's quite shameful to see these politicians in action, to be honest, letting the United States run our foreign policy for us. Absolutely embarrassing and shameful. How low has Britain become? How low? Liz Truss is going to carry on with that rhetoric. She's going to be very, very confrontational towards China over the next few months, and I can see it. She already has been, and it's just going to get much, much worse. She's talking about an Asian NATO in China. She's talking about combating Chinese threats. She's talking about sending weapons to Taiwan. She's going to send delegations to Taiwan. She's going to escalate things in the UK over the next few months. US is going to do the same. Europe is going to do the same as well. I believe today France has sent some delegations to Taiwan as well. So things are escalating in Taiwan. It looks like the West has decided that they're going to use Taiwan as their next proxy war against China. Nothing's going to stop that. Things are going to get worse. Nobody really cares about inflation here. Nobody really cares about the cost of living. It's all about this foreign policy. But whatever your views are of China, you can't say that they are not a superpower. You cannot say you cannot trade with them. China has a lot of money. They're already the biggest trading partner for majority of the world. You cannot ignore that market. You cannot piss off the Chinese. The whole point of being diplomatic and whole point of diplomacy is you gotta obviously trade with your friends, trade with your partners, but you also gotta trade with countries that you don't like. You don't have to agree with their values. You don't have to agree with their principles. But one thing you can agree on is a win-win situation where you can both make money. And that's what trading is about. It's pure and simple. You cannot ignore the Chinese market. And what Liz Truss is doing and what Boris has done is antagonize the Chinese, kicked out every single investment from the Chinese. China will become the number one superpower very soon, within the next 8 to 10 years. Absolutely unbelievable, the short-sightedness of many politicians that run this country. Seriously, what's diplomacy come to these days? Number 6, Brexit disaster. So this Brexit disaster is still waiting to happen, and it could happen while Liz Truss is in power. The issue with Northern Ireland is not been resolved, and Liz Truss is talking about leaving the agreement and starting a trade war with Europe. We cannot afford a trade war with Europe, not at this stage, not at this time. And neither can Europe, to be honest, but let's face it, since Brexit, you just have to look at the economic figures. You just got to have to look at the trade. it's gone down in UK, while trade amongst other EU members has gone up. If you look at it as a common sense point of view, there's a lot of countries in Europe that can still trade with each other. There's no barriers for them to trade with one another. There's no barriers, and they can carry on trading. And as money moves between country to country, money circulation increasing, and those countries get richer. And that's what happens when you trade with countries. Britain has stopped that link between Europe, and Britain's biggest trading partner was Europe, and now they've completely cut off that link. And you've got to also think about the way the world is right now. Petrol prices and gas prices are very, very expensive. There is no point having trade deals with Japan, Australia. You're going to have to send ships all the way to Australia, all the way to Japan, pay all of these costs. Is it really worth it? In the end, you're just going to price yourself out the market. There is no way Japan is going to buy British goods when they can buy cheap goods from China, which are much better quality and much cheaper to transport. There is no way, impossible. Look, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of how the EU is being run at the moment, and you got Ursula von der Crazy right here. And the EU, when it was formed in the beginning, it was never a political thing. It was all about trade. It was all about reducing trade barriers between countries and trading with one another. That's what EU was all about, and that's the strength of the EU. But now it's become political, and I can understand why Britain has left the EU, to be honest. I can understand it because of the politics. It wasn't because of the trade. And I get it, I get it. But the fact is, Britain has still shot itself in the foot. Where else is it going to trade with? America? There's no trade deal with America, and there never will be. They're just leading Britain up the garden path. Anyway, this whole Brexit thing is still a disaster waiting to happen. Since COVID, since Brexit, you just have to look at Britain's trade figures, its economy. It's been going down compared to the rest of the world, and things are not looking good. And if Liz Truss decides to leave this agreement when it comes to Northern Ireland, then things can escalate even more. But who knows what will happen. Anyway, that's the end of the video, guys. Let me know what you might think. Don't forget to support the channel if you can. Like, share, subscribe. Do what you can to help support the channel. Even watching the videos to the end really helps a lot with the algorithm. Make sure you like, comment, make sure you share. Try and get the video watched as many people as possible. And if you really want to support the channel, please do so with Locals, Patreon. The links are in my description. Your help goes a long way in me making these videos. As it stands, I cannot afford to make these videos any longer because pretty much most of the videos get demonetized by YouTube, and I'm just thinking whether it's all worth it anymore. It's a shame because I do have a lot of knowledge. I love making videos for you guys. But the issue is money. The cost of living crisis is affecting me as well. And I may have to get a second job. While before I can make these videos, I wasn't really thinking about the money. But now I might have to get a second job, which could severely impact whether I make videos or not. So this is why I'm looking at you guys. I got about 55 Patreons or something. It really is not enough, guys. You got to look at people like Richard Medhurst, who have got 800, 900 members. But you got, people like Difference Frames the World, who have got 400 or so members. They have got like 200 members in their Patreon. They also got 200 members in their Buy Me a Coffee site as well. Yeah, and plus they probably get a lot of money coming in through social media in China, WeChat and things like that. So they're fine, you know. But people like me who have only got 55 Patreons, it simply is not enough for me to carry on. And I can do as much as I can do, but eventually if I do feel like I have to get a second job or so to make ends meet, I may not get a chance to make any more videos. So I'm just asking you guys for a bit more support. If I can get my membership up to 100, that will be more than enough. So I'm looking at basically double what I have right now. You're also welcome to join my locals as well. That would also be a big help. So you guys, that's all I wanted to say. And for those of you who have said to join Rumble, well, I do have an account in Rumble, and you can see all of my videos get transferred to Rumble. So there's all my videos from YouTube are in Rumble, and people do watch them. They are all monetized, as you can see. I've got about 1,600 followers or subscribers, which is not enough. And the shocking thing is, I just want to show you how much money I make from Rumble, even though I've had an account there. And you can see it's not even $1. I've earned 3 cents so far in my whole time I've been in Rumble, and I've been in Rumble for months, as long as I've had my YouTube channel. And you can see from all of the videos I've been uploading and stuff, all the videos are there in my YouTube channel. So you can see, guys, you know, us YouTubers, we're not here to make money. We don't make money. And this is why we need your support to survive. And I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking for 100 Patreons, or even like up to, maybe even if I get 50 locals, that still would be enough. You know, that means 100 members to support the channel. You know, I'm not looking to be a millionaire like Richard Medhurst, who's got 800-900, you know, Patreon members. He's probably making a killing. He's probably a millionaire by now. You know, even if I had a very high subscriber count like the Duran, who've got like 250-300k subscribers, even their videos get a lot of views. So even they can, you know, potentially make a lot of money from YouTube. But people like me who don't have enough subscribers, not enough support, it's very, very difficult for us to survive. And this is why we need your support, guys. It's very important. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for all of you who have supported me so far. Really, really appreciate it, and really hope you guys can do something. Anyway, take care for now, and I'll see you guys soon.